Welcome to the Meeting House, where we have conversation on religion and American life. I'm your host, Dwight A. Moody, coming to you once again from the Blue Ridge Studio in North Carolina. But we're broadcasting, as always, through the radio platform of Rejoice Radio down in Glenn County, Georgia, and now for the first time, the television platform of St. Stephen's Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. Welcome wherever you are, and thank you for joining our conversation on religion and American life here in the Meeting House. It's an important day for us. We're taking a big step. What we launched 2 years ago as a newsletter became a radio program 1 year ago, and now a television program. We still broadcast with the radio, and we still distribute our newsletter on Wednesday night. But thank you for being a part of this big day for us. Tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we're going to celebrate this transition with a Zoom launch party, and you are invited. You can go to themeetinghouse.net, our website, and locate the launch party link, and you can join tonight. You come when you can during that hour, leave when you want to. I have some very special guests, including my co-host, Kate B., our Perfecto Coffee sponsors, Bruce and Jennifer Long out in California, and then 4 members of my board of advisors will be in the launch party tonight. Tom Krottenmacher, the religion columnist for the USA Today magazine, Molly Marshall, my longtime colleague as theologian and a seminary president, Everett McCorvey, my colleague at the Academy of Preachers and leader of the National Chorale and the American Spiritual Ensemble, and Lori Carroll, the chancellor at the University of Minnesota at Rochester. And I have one young preacher, Larry Terrell Crudup, a pastor now in Oklahoma City. He's going to be with us tonight as well. So I invite you to join our celebration at 8 p.m. tonight. Today, as always, I have 5 news stories, and normally I end the broadcast with a commentary, but that may not be possible today because I've got 3 guests and then this big Zoom launch party tonight. So there's a lot going on the program today. You can read the commentary at themeetinghouse.net, and you can subscribe to the newsletter if you like. My commentary is entitled 3 Speeches I Heard, recounts what I heard over the weekend. But I'm going to spend the rest of the hour today talking to 3 friends of mine. My host here at the SSC Live platform and my partner in gospel work, the great and influential pastor, the Reverend Dr. Kevin Cosby. I'm joining his team today, and we're going to talk about that and about our partnership and the influence that he's had on my life. But the main attraction, international opera star Angela Brown, just back from Triumph in Miami, Florida, and her friend and my friend, her agent, Janet Jarriel. Janet, welcome to the Meeting House.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Dwight.
And you tell me you are in Macon, Georgia today.
I am visiting family in Macon, Georgia today.
Great. Angela, welcome for the first time to the Meeting House.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Dwight. I'm excited to be here.
Great. And you are in your hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana, I think.
Yes, this is where I am.
Well, we're going to have some very interesting conversation about the way our paths have crossed and about your work around the world and especially during this pandemic time. Mm-hmm. But first, brought to you by Perfecto Coffee of Paris, California, here is the news. From Portland, Oregon, evangelist Louis Palou has been admitted to hospice care after almost 4 years of treatment for lung cancer. Originally from Argentina, Palou relocated to the United States after embracing a call to evangelism under the influence of the late evangelist Billy Graham. He has spent 50 years traveling the world as a Christian preacher and, by his own estimate, has preached to more than 1 billion people. He's 86 years old, 4 children, a bunch of grandchildren. But when asked in an interview last year about his health, he said this: "I'm ready to go. I have peace with the Lord." From Grand Rapids, Michigan, Bethany Christian Services is the nation's largest Protestant organization managing foster care and adoption. They work in 32 states. Its board of directors has approved a policy, just approved it, allowing the company to serve LGBTQ people and families. The change in policy came after more than a decade of struggle with the issue, just like the country at large. In making its decision, Bethany commissioned the Barna Research Group of Southern California to assess the feelings of Christians nationwide about the matter. And they reported that 55% of Christians said that sexual preference should not determine who can foster or adopt children, or that it was better for children to be in an LGBTQ home than in foster care. The survey also found that 76% of self-identified Christians agree, at least somewhat, that it would be better for Christian agencies to comply with government regulations rather than shut down completely. From Nashville, Tennessee, United Methodist have again postponed their annual conference, putting off yet again the decision about splitting up the denomination and dividing up its assets. COVID is the culprit this time. They announced that their meeting will be held in Minneapolis in September of 2022. The conservative or traditionalist wing of the church responded with its own intent to form what it will call the Global Methodist Church. This comes out of the Wesleyan Covenant movement, an internal organization that has fought to keep traditional or conservative policies, especially regarding LGBTQ, in place. Earlier, a liberal or a progressive group of Methodists called Liberation Methodist Connection organized and invited Methodists of all kinds to participate in their action-oriented strategy for addressing social issues. From Los Angeles, John Baker, founder of Celebrate Recovery, died suddenly this week at the age of 72. Baker entered Alcoholics Anonymous for his own recovery from addiction, and as part of that 12-step program, reconnected with his wife and began attending the famed Saddleback Church led by Rick Warren. Later in 1990, he presented to Warren a plan to create a Christian version of the program. That led to the establishment of the ministry, which under Baker's leadership spread to 35,000 churches and has impacted the lives of more than 7 million people seeking help from addiction. Baker is survived by his wife, 2 children, and several grandchildren. And finally, from everywhere around the country and the globe, people are participating in the annual disciplines associated with the Christian season of Lent. They include prayer and reflection and self-denial. But the pandemic has created some interesting adjustments. For instance, hashtag, not the more common hashtag, but hashtag. I think it's pretty clever. It's an app that digitally places the ash-like sign of the cross on the forehead of a submitted photo. So In lieu of going to church and kneeling to receive the sign of the cross, smudged onto your forehead with the burnt ashes of the palm leaves, many people went online, submitted a photo, and then presented themselves online, Facebook and such, with the sign of the cross. Faith in the modern world, I suppose. That's the news from the Meeting House, brought to you by Perfecto Coffee Inc. Here's some of their coffee. They sell it online, and I send a package of coffee to every one of my guests. And I'll be back with my guest in just a minute. This is the Meeting House. I'm your host, Dwight A. Moody, and I'm thrilled to have with me in the Meeting House two classy ladies. From Nashville, Tennessee, but temporarily in Macon, Georgia, herself a musician of note, a world-class agent of world-class performers, Janet Jarriel. And the one whose schedule Janet manages, the beautiful, talented, and delightful performer from Indianapolis, Angela Brown. Welcome to both of you.
Thank
in the
you.
Meeting House.
Thank you.
We're glad to have you here today to talk about all these, what's going on in the world today related to how COVID has suppressed all of this. But Angela, you sing from time to time with the American Spiritual Ensemble, don't you?
Yes, I do. I call them my family.
I do too. I've told Everett I'm determined to go on one of his winter tours, get on the bus and travel with the group sometime.
You would have a great time.
I know. You need to know that Everett McCorvey and Tedrin both have been my guest in the Meeting House.
Yeah.
And also your colleague Kenneth Overton in New York was my guest just a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And Everett's going to be here tonight for our Zoom party. Tell me, how did you get inducted into this ensemble?
Well, I was thinking about that. And I want to say I met Dr. McCorvey during a competition that they had here in Indianapolis called the McAllister Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he may have judged me one year or something. But I was good friends with Dr. Angelique Clay Everett, that teaches there now. And she introduced me to Doc, and Doc had heard me. I don't ever remember an indoctrination, but he heard me sing and invited me to come to be with the group. I want to say that was in 1997, and I've been with them whenever I can ever since.
You know, I heard you, I think, for the first time. We met in Indianapolis in 2014. Wonderful things happened that year, including a big snowstorm. I don't know whether you remember this.
Oh, yeah.
We had to. Yes. We were both attending the National Festival of Young Preachers, led by the Academy of Preachers. This is a group that I led, and you and the ensemble came to sing in Christ Church, I think, downtown on the Circle.
Christ Church Cathedral on the Circle.
Yeah, on the Circle, and it snowed so bad we had to cut our conference short. And I remember very distinctly leaving Indianapolis, following a snowplow.
Oh, yeah.
We actually followed the snowplow, getting on the interstate and down the interstate 65 toward Kentucky. But I remember that, you singing with the American Spiritual Ensemble that way. But so tell us about how your music career started. I'm so interested in people's journey. Where did you learn to sing? Where did you fall in love with singing?
That's a whole lot.
It's a whole lot. I know.
I'm from Indianapolis. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. And he was the president of the Baptist Ministers Alliance here in Indianapolis. But anywho, I would sing at church, and I sang all through school. I mean, the opening of an envelope, Angela was singing somewhere in Indianapolis. And then I ended up going to Oakwood University in Huntsville, Alabama, where the opera bug bit me, but not real hard, because it wasn't until I went to IU that it really got a hold of me. And I studied with Ginger Beasley at Oakwood, then with Virginia Zayani at IU. And Ginger Beasley was a student of Virginia Zayani. And so she would take her students to IU for master classes. And so after Ms. Zayani heard me, she says, Angela, when you're done with Ginger, you come into my studio. And so that's how it all kind of started as far as the classical music was concerned. But I've been singing since the womb.
Well, I've been to Oakwood many times. Yes, I didn't realize you were a student down there. I would go to Oakwood promoting the Academy of Preachers and recruiting their young preachers. And we've had a whole stream of young Seventh-day Adventist preachers. As a matter of fact, one of their young preachers, Richard Martin, who now pastors in Virginia, was my guest about a month ago here in the Meeting House. He was such an articulate young representative. But I've been down there. And then, of course, last summer, on the Meeting House, I reported in the news the death of little Richard and his burial on the grounds at the university. I did not know he was a graduate either. And many of our listeners will not know much about Oakwood University, but they have a very famous traveling musical group, don't they? Tell us about it.
Yes, called the Aeolians.
Yes.
I was a part of the Aeolians, and now they are the world music choir winner.
Yes.
Yes. So with each new conductor that they get, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And the Lord has just really blessed them.
Somehow or another, I got on a Facebook or a website page several weeks ago reading about somebody who was, and I read the whole history of that group. And I don't remember now who it was, but it's a group like the Fisk Jubilee Singers used to be so prominent, and like the American Spiritual Ensemble that travels the world now. You went down to Oakwood, even though you grew up in a Baptist church, and you went down there with those Seventh-day Adventists, didn't you?
Yes. I became a Seventh-day Adventist here in Indianapolis and then ended up going to Oakwood. So
you became an Adventist before you went down there?
Yes. It's a shame to say, but I knew I couldn't dare leave the Baptist religion while my grandfather was alive. So when I started reading the Bible for myself and understanding for myself and choosing for myself, the Seventh-day Adventist Church was where I found my joy.
Good. I have such respect for them.
Yeah.
And I first met a Seventh-day Adventist when I got out of college. I went to Israel for a year, lived in Jerusalem, and a student there with me was a Seventh-day Adventist. And that was my introduction to the whole tradition. And it's been a very positive connection, all of my ministry. So tell us about getting bit by the opera bug.
Well, I always say opera chose me. I didn't choose it. I never thought that I wanted to be a screechy soprano, though I hope I'm not so screechy now. And I just fell in love with everything that I was already doing. Okay, because I did a lot of musical theater when I was in high school and then when I was growing up here in Indianapolis, community theater. And so opera is just all of that, all mixed together. And I found that I had a real affinity for the languages and for the technique. And I took to it like a duck to water. And it was just easy for me to do it. I just was augmented. The rough diamond was beginning to get facets.
Good.
When I started to study.
Now, you mentioned languages. This interests me. So how many languages do you have to sing in when you're an opera star?
Well, I'm glad you didn't ask me how many languages do I speak in, because that would be one.
I understand.
That would be American English. But you sing in Italian, you sing in German, you sing in French, you can sing in Czech, you can sing in Russian, you can sing in Spanish. However many languages there are operas written in, that's what you could sing. And I've even sung in Yiddish. So, if they're out there and they can be sung.
Have you sung any Gullah Geechee?
No, well, now, not all the way. Porgy and Bess has a little bit.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so
it does.
Not totally, but yeah.
Well, sometime you can come down to the islands, the Atlantic, the Barrier Islands, we call them, Sea Islands, where there are strong Gullah Geechee musical groups that perform in Savannah and St. Simon's Island, places like that. Well, I'm interested to know how you met Janet. How did the two of you meet? Janet and I were talking earlier about how she and I met. How did you meet Janet?
Well, this is a story that Janet can also hop in there with. Janet was married to the dean of the School of Music's son. Okay. And
at IU, you mean the IU dean?
Yes.
See. Yeah. Well,
I did a concert. I think it was in Indianapolis, and Janet ended up coming to turn pages for Dean Webb, who was the dean of the School of Music at the time. And from that point, we had just a high and by situation. But then we started to work together when Helen Bing sent monies for me to do my first CD with Dean Webb at the school. And so Janet actually produced that CD for me. And from there, I said to Janet, well, why don't you manage me? Because she was in school for artist management. And she said to me, well, I thought you want to go to some big New York agent and yada, yada. And I was like, well, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Because we worked real well together. And so we have been working together since 1996 on a handshake agreement.
Isn't that great?
And that's because she respects me and I respect her.
So Janet, you were a student at IU. I mean, it's one of the premier music schools in the whole country. I know that as a layman. And you were studying to be on the business side of things, right?
Right. I was doing my master's in arts administration. They have a very good program for that. And so part of my program requirements, I had to do a certain number of projects, and Angela's first demo CD was one of those projects. And yeah,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
And so you've been managing her 96. Boy, that's 25 years.
Exactly.
Almost. That's a pretty good record for two people to stay together as a performer and agent.
It is quite unusual.
Yes.
And I think that's a testament to Angela Brown being able to put up with me.
Oh, I doubt that. Come on. So how has it been this last year? I want both of you to talk about your business, your calling, your vocation in the middle of COVID. What has this done and how has this pushed you?
Well, I'm going to say, of course, none of us expected any of this to happen. But thanks be to God, Angela Brown was prepared.
And didn't know it.
And didn't know it.
What do you mean by that?
Well, she had already begun podcasting and webcasting, and only about 6 months prior, correct me if I'm wrong, Angela, decided to get this entire setup at her house for doing such.
Really?
This was total pre-pandemic, and it ended up being quite a blessing that we had everything in place. And her brand new podcast, it was brand new last March. Season 2 is about to roll out. It's called Melanated Moments in Classical Music, and it's produced by Classical Music Indie. Well, it was rolling out in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And then you know what happened in March of 2020. And people were hungry for content. And so we were grateful that we had something useful to give them. And then right on the heels of that came the social unrest and upheaval. And Angela and I talked about it. And we said, look, we have a program that can offer healing and can offer help, and to our colleagues who aren't able to do anything during this time, and it's opera from a sister's point of view. And I reached out to all of my colleagues, and immediately most of them responded, hey, are we ever interested in this? So the first group to take us up on it was Cincinnati Opera and Opera Birmingham. They co-produced, and actually right now you can go to cincinnatiopera.org and watch Angela's program, Opera from a Sister's Point of View, with 4 amazing rising Black opera stars. So we had these things ready to go, and we just kicked it into high gear.
How providential that was for you to follow something inside of you, like I did last March. I started my radio program. You started your podcast, not knowing what was going on around us, and how valuable it would be to carry us through the pandemic. So, Angela, tell us a little bit more about your podcast, Opera from a Sister's Point of View.
That's the program.
But, that's the program.
Yeah, that's the program.
But your podcast
is
give me
Melanated Moments in Classical Music.
I see.
And it's a podcast that is for, by, and about Black people. And we have had some very interesting subjects on, and it won the 2020 Black. Let me see. Wait a minute? Let me show you.
You got an award back there. You can show us.
I got an award back here, child. Yes, it won the Black Podcasting Award, Best Music Podcast 2020 winner.
Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I'm going to link that to my website and put it up on Facebook.
Season 2 launches next week.
Season 2 next week. So and tell us about your first program in season 2.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know what the first program is going to be, because we're still in the editing process.
I see.
And so that's all on our producer. So he'll let us know.
He'll let you know when
next week.
But Everett McCorvey is featured on
He's definitely featured. Everett McCorvey is featured. And
he's everywhere, isn't he?
He's everywhere.
He's featured everywhere.
The mayor.
Love him.
The mayor of Lexington.
Really? He's the governor of the state.
Governor of the state, yeah.
Well, about 5 years ago, when I was the interim president of the Baptist Seminary of Kentucky, I had the rare and wonderful occasion to introduce at a program the man who's going to be our guest in just a minute, Kevin Cosby, as the preacher, and Everett McCorvey as the musician. And I felt like I was in the middle of royalty. Such influential people. It is hard to name outside of the basketball world 2 people more influential in the state of Kentucky than Everett McCorvey and Kevin Cosby. And I'm glad we know Everett. He's enriched my life. And so I'll have to tell that story sometime as well. But it was Everett. I'm going to tell this story right now. Janet and I were at a preaching conference up in Minneapolis in 2014 after the festival, Angela, and I was talking to my neighbor, a stranger that I didn't know, about Everett. Janet, I didn't know Janet. She overheard the conversation and she came around the corner and said, "Did I hear you mention Everett McCorvey?" And so that's the way she and I met in the summer, it was May of 2014.
Shy much, Janet?
I'm just a retreating wildflower.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't believe that about either one of you, as a matter of fact. Well, so aside from, I have watched a lot of music during the pandemic online. and because we all have missed live performance, haven't we? You've missed arranging it and getting paid for it, Janet. You've missed singing it and getting paid for it, Angela.
Hello.
I've missed attending it, but I've been so impressed with all the people like yourself, and I've been watching Kenneth Overton's online features about opera. I've watched the American Spiritual Ensemble. This has been such a wonderful gift that musicians have given to us in this terrible time. What's going to happen when the pandemic lifts?
Well,
what's on your schedule, Janet? Tell her tell us where she's going.
Okay, well, you can go there first.
Well, for right this moment, you can watch her on CincinnatiOpera.org.
Right.
And of course, Melanated Moments. And if you are really interested in some historical perspective, you can go to PBS on to American Experience and see the show that they produced. It premiered last week on Marian Anderson called Voice of Freedom. And Angela's prominently featured on that as giving insight as an interviewee on that documentary. But hopefully, if we are back to where we are supposed to be, Angela will make her debut with New Orleans Opera in an outdoor fantastic version of Porgy and Bess with an all-star cast that they've lined up. So I'm hoping that's going forward.
Now, Angela, I'm thinking you need a personal chaplain to travel with you to these gigs.
I always need prayer.
Yes, I just want to tell you, I'm available, and I'm going to hire Janet as my manager, as opera chaplain, to make this happen. You've just come back from Miami. Tell us what you did in Miami.
Well, in Miami, I had the opportunity to do my first live performing since the pandemic with my show Opera from a Sister's Point of View, Generation Next, where I introduce young rising stars on my platform, young rising Black opera singers on my platform. And it was a raving success. It was at the Hampton House, the historic Hampton House there in Miami, which is where, Muhammad Ali, after he beat Sonny Liston, he went back. And that was the hotel he was at with Malcolm X and
yes,
that movie.
I watched the movie. I did. So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that's where I got a chance to sing. And it actually was in the Green Book and everything. So it was wonderful to put my footprint on the footprints of all the people that have had to go through there for whatever reasons, but it was fun. The young professionals sang so well and presented themselves so well. And what came of it was rave reviews that each one of them got their reviews. I don't know if these were their first reviews or their first raves, but that now can go in their book of memories, it's part of their history now. And that is what I wanted to be able to do with Opera from a Sister's Point of View at this time in my life, is to present a platform to elevate others that are coming right on behind me and actually getting ready to run on past me.
Well, Angela, after I had been a pastor for 20 years and a professor at Georgetown College for 11 years, I started doing exactly what you're describing. I launched the Academy of Preachers, and I spent 10 years giving a platform to young preachers all over the country. These young people from Oakwood and from Simmons and from universities and seminaries, Orthodox, Catholic, Pentecostal, Protestant, helping young people find their voice, find an audience, find opportunities, and meet people that can influence them for life. It is a calling. I commend you for it and bless you in it.
Thank you.
I want to bring into our conversation now my good friend, the pastor of the St. Stephen's Baptist Church, right there in Louisville, Kentucky. the president of Simmons College of Kentucky, my friend in gospel work, Reverend Dr. Kevin Cosby.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so excited about, first of all, being a part of what I believe is one of the most provocative and thought-invoking podcasts that there is in the United States. And so I'm honored to be with you, especially with such distinguished guests that you have, like Angela. And I want Angela to know that Simmons College is the college where Robert Todd Duncan graduated. And Robert Todd Duncan was the first Porgy.
That's right.
That's right.
Is that right?
The first Porgy in Porgy and Bess, George Gershwin recruited him, but he's a graduate of Simmons College of Kentucky.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
And I want you to know, Pastor, I have sung at your church. I think it was before you were there, though, I think. Because Janet, I did that the NAACP not luncheon, or maybe it was a dinner. So their evening.
It was dinner.
It was a dinner there. Really? And your musician, one of your musicians, Joey Logan.
Joe Logan, yes.
Joe Logan, good friends of mine. I'm good.
Oh, he's phenomenal. Yeah, well, I probably was not in attendance, but I was probably the pastor. I've been there for 42 years.
Oh, yeah. You don't look like you've been anywhere for 42 years. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
No, it's true, isn't it? That's all I'm gonna
say. Yeah. I know. That's called cryptic code language. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, I want you to meet Angela's agent, Janet Jarriel, and you can talk to her about booking Angela back in Louisville to sing at Simmons and to sing at the church. You just have to do it when I can be there. That's the only thing. We all four of us need to be there.
Dwight, there were two issues on my mind. First of all, to put in a plug for Robert Todd Duncan.
Yes.
And then put in a plug for Simmons College.
Yes.
In St. Stephen Church for Angela to return.
Yes. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'll tell you what else I'm going to make happen, Pastor. I want to announce right now my search for interns from Simmons College to work with me in the meeting house.
All right.
I'm raising money right now, and part of that money I want to go to paying interns from Simmons College to work in any field related to what the meeting house is all about, which is media and communication and religion and business and fundraising and marketing and technology.
Yes.
Any of those things, we need to find some students at Simmons College. We'll start this summer if we can work it out.
Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Because I tell you, I need a lot of help in getting this stuff done. Sure. I'm way in over my head, believe me. But I'm glad to introduce you all to each other and to plan to come out of this pandemic with a flurry and a flourish, and to awaken the whole world with some music. Doesn't that sound good? Don't we need it?
Yes.
The hills are alive with the sound of music.
We're going to make them. The hills.
We have to make the hill, and that's the only thing that makes the hills come alive. The sound of music
is the sound of music.
The sound of music. That's right. Oh, that's right.
Well, it's the whole world, the country is going to be, we've missed sports, we've missed church, we've missed weddings, we've missed funerals, we've missed concerts, we've missed informal jam sessions.
Right.
Because of it. And Janet, you're going to have to book the lady all over and help let her sing us out of the pandemic, don't you think?
She's trying to do that right now.
Doing that right now.
Doing it right now, trying to find people who are ready to do it.
Yes.
Well, it's been a long time since I have been in a live church. Mm-hmm. This past week, I wrote my column this week on 3 speeches I heard this week. One was in our Sunday school class, a Zoom Sunday school class, Dr. Ed Wheeler. I don't know whether you know. Yes. Yeah. The former president of CTS and ITC, he spoke to our Sunday school class from his retirement home in Jacksonville, Florida. And then I'll have to say I did hear the president, his speech on Sunday afternoon. He was describing an alternative universe that I'm not familiar with. And then I heard a Pentecostal preacher in Mobile, Alabama, mm-hmm. and whom I had never heard of. One of our young preachers posted it, talking about race relations, and I included it in my column, 3 speeches I heard, and about this, all of it remote, but very, very, very powerful. So, Pastor, tell us a little bit about what's happening at Simmons College. Well, have you all survived the pandemic?
Yes, we have. And let me first of all say that about an hour and a half ago, the Kentucky Senate unanimously approved a bill that's going to help Simmons with its education program. And it was a major event for Simmons College. So we're going to start our education program, and the Senate approved it. It has to go before the House, but they approved it unanimously with commendations. So the school is just experiencing tremendous blessings and prosperity in spite of the pandemic. And part of it is because we are a historical Black college and university, and we have received special funds to help us during the pandemic just because we're an HBCU. So it has hurt us in the sense that we've had to go remote, and it has affected our enrollment, but it has helped us in the sense that our financial positionality, believe it or not, may be better now and as a result of the pandemic than before the pandemic. And so we're excited about the future. Our goal is to return in the fall to an on-campus education and still do virtual, but we're opening the buildings up again. And I'm just thankful to God that a vaccine that should have taken 4 to 10 years to discover was discovered in 1 year. And that is amazing. I mean, I can't think of going 4 years like this. That's an unthinkable thought.
Yes, I have any of you gotten your shots yet?
I'm not eligible yet.
I've had both of mine.
You've had both of yours. Angela, have you had yours?
No.
Yes, I haven't. I'm certainly old enough, and I'm on the waiting list down here in North Carolina where I am right now to get my shot. But I'm like you, Dr. Cosby, thrilled that these vaccines have been developed so quickly, and I'm eager to get mine so I can start getting out and mixing and mingling again, because I'm very hesitant. One of the issues that it raises is about international travel. I was supposed to lead a group to Israel this May, and we had to put it off until hopefully next year. Angela, you've been around the world. Tell us where you have sung Where is your travels? Where has your voice taken you around the world?
Well, Janet, I was going to ask you. I said I think I've almost stepped on every continent except
except for Antarctica.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
that's it.
You've never done a concert for the penguins down there, huh?
But a little bit for the penguins in South Africa. I didn't know there were South African penguins.
Well, I don't either. I just said that.
Cape Town, but
yeah, I
don't
know.
That was just a fun fact. But
that's right. You've been to South America,
yes,
and to Africa, and to Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So, when the pandemic lifts, where would you like to go and sing again? Hawaii.
Hawaii would be fabulous.
Have you ever sung in Hawaii?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
But I've often heard Angela say that she wants to return to South Africa.
That's true.
To Cape Town.
To Cape Town.
She loved Cape Town. And Cape Town loved her.
I'm sure of that. Well, South Africa has its own strong musical tradition, doesn't it?
Ooh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, it does. I did a feature a couple of weeks ago on this song and dance that is become popular all over the world. And the dance originated in South Africa and the song in Gambia. Any of you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
If you were to go Google that or go on YouTube, it's a prayer that people are dancing to on all 5 continents. And I don't know, I can't remember all the details on it, but so if you go to South Africa,
mm-hmm.
what do you like to sing in South Africa?
Well, when I was there, I sang opera, but the first time I was in Southern Africa or Zimbabwe, I was about to do a concert, and before the concert, it was a children's choir or the school choir wanted
Mm-hmm.
to sing me before, and they walked down the aisle with candles lit, and they sang in Nkosi Sikeleli, Africa. You talking about gut-wrenching, I mean, tears flowing. It was so beautiful, their harmonies,
Mm-hmm.
how they can just put together the voices. It was just wonderful. And then I was supposed to sing after that with a big lump in my throat.
Yes, right.
But I would love to actually go and do a concert tour in South Africa area. I think that would be fun.
Has the American Spiritual Ensemble traveled to Africa?
No, we've been to Spain a lot.
Yeah.
But not Africa. We've been to and they've been some other places that I don't always get a chance.
Yeah, South America. I remember PBS did a whole feature on them, I think, on their South American tour. Am I not right about that? That was one of my first encounters with the American Spiritual Ensemble.
Yes, when we
watching that.
I was part of that.
Were you?
Yeah, it's been a long time ago. It's been a long time ago. Yeah.
I told them a little earlier, Pastor, about the time that you and I and Everett McCorvey were together on the program in Midway, Kentucky.
Yeah.
On behalf of BSK.
Yeah.
And now I understand, you all have gotten a big grant from the Ball Foundation of San Antonio, Texas. That's a direct result of you and me and a few others traveling from Louisville down to San Antonio to have lunch. Do you remember that?
Absolutely so.
At the home of then the late Babs Ball, who she just died, as you know, this year. And I'm going to tell you this fact. I don't think any of you would have noted this, because when they put the tombstone up for Babs Ball, they took a picture of it and put it on Facebook. And I looked at it real close, because the inscription that they put on it was a quote from the gonzo artist from Louisville, Kentucky, the journalist, what's his name? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Who can you help me here? Who?
The journalist in Louisville.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to find it.
You try to
Hunter
find
S.
it.
Thompson.
Yeah, Hunter Thompson. Yes, Hunter Thompson. Kind of an interesting connection between San Antonio and Louisville, and the grateful philanthropist whose foundation has given Simmons College and BSK a big grant just this year, just a month or two ago.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it's great to talk with you all and to connect with you all again in the meeting house. I'm thrilled to see all of you. All of my encounters with each of you have been so positive from the day we first met. I bless you in your work. And I want us to come together on the campus of Simmons College of Kentucky and do something.
That would be great.
Do something good. Maybe get into some good trouble. How would that be?
Hey, yes.
Yes.
Angela, God bless you.
God
bless your voice. Bless your spirit. Janet, bless your work.
Thank you.
Your promotion, your organizing. Get this lady out there where the world can fall in love with her if they haven't already. Reverend, I'm just so honored to be part of your team and to join your broadcast ministry. I honor what you have done and what you're doing. I cannot tell you what a difference you have made in my life since first you handed to me the book, The Half Has Never Been Told.
Wow.
I have, this book shocked me to my core, and I have been on a learning. This is the book I'm reading right now. Me, Robert E. Lee and Me.
Wow.
Oh my, this will be my book review next week in the meeting house. And then the very next book, The Underground Railroad.
Wow.
A novel.
Novel, yeah. Wow. Well, good for you. And that's how we move. Abraham Maslow had his 4 stages of learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Anyone who learns starts off with unconscious ignorance.
Yeah.
You're ignorant about your ignorance.
Well, I certainly was ignorant about all of my ignorance until I met you in this field, but I've been trying to get caught up.
And those are the stages, and you've gone through the stages.
I have.
And then you go from to unconscious ignorance to conscious ignorance.
Yeah, that's where I am right now, conscious of my ignorance.
That's where I am too.
And then you move to the third stage where you just infuse yourself with material that you're reading. Mm-hmm. And then you become conscious of your intelligence, but you're becoming more conscious of it, you know?
I am.
So it takes
trying to make a difference on radio and television and the newsletter I send out. Thank you all for joining me today. God bless you all. Let's do it again. Let's meet in Louisville and get into some good trouble. I'll be back in just a minute in the meeting house. I'm your host, Dwight A. Moody. I'll be back to wrap things up and promote our launch party tonight. I don't know, Rev, whether you're even aware of this, but I'm having a Zoom launch party to celebrate joining your television ministry tonight at 8 o'clock. And I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. I'll be back. Thanks to all of you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're listening to The Meeting House, where we have conversation on religion and American life. I'm your host, Dr. Dwight A. Moody, coming to you from our studio in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I've had 3 terrific guests this week as we launch a new partnership with St. Stephen's Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. You can go to our website at themeetinghouse.net and read all the commentaries, the book reviews. You can listen to all of these podcasts. In fact, the conversation today will be a podcast, and it will be up by this weekend. You can subscribe to the newsletter. I need you to subscribe. I had 3 unsubscribe this week. So I need at least 3 people to subscribe to keep up. I want to thank Dr. Cosby himself and Angela Brown and Janet Jarriel, 3 friends of mine that have enriched my life very much over these last years. And I want to invite you to our Zoom party tonight, 8 p.m. on Zoom. If you'll go to the website at themeetinghouse.net, you will find a link to the Zoom room. And you can come in at 8 or at any time during the hour. It's kind of a come when you can, leave when you have to, a drop-in affair. We're trying to generate interest in the newsletter, in this television show. We're trying to raise a little money also. You'll have an opportunity to do that. So I'm inviting listeners and viewers and donors and guests and friends of the Meeting House to this launch party tonight. I'm going to recognize a few people, and we're going to have drawing and give away some more coffee. I'm going to have some conversation with 5 people. One of them is Everett McCorvey. We've been talking about him. One is Lori Carroll, longtime friend of mine, who is the president, we would say, or the chancellor, as her title is, of the University of Minnesota at Rochester. And then Molly Marshall, the well-known theologian and administrator and seminary president, longtime colleague of mine, will be here. Tom Krottenmacher, who many of you may read because he is the religion writer for the USA Today newsletter. And then the young preacher, Larry Terrell Crudup, AOP 10, as we would say, graduate of Belmont University, Bright Divinity School, and now working on his doctorate, a pastor in Oklahoma. He's going to be here tonight, and we want you to be here tonight, 8 o'clock, for our Zoom party. You're listening today, perhaps over rejoice975.com or 97.5 FM, 94.7 FM in Glenn County, Georgia, where our home base is. Some of you are watching on Facebook Live. I want to thank my 2 engineers, Everett down in Georgia and Alex in Louisville, Kentucky, for helping us do all of this. Thank you for your interest in religion and American life. Thank you for joining us today for us, a very important broadcast. Until next week in the Meeting House, be safe, do justice, wear a mask. I don't care what any governor says, wear a mask, sing a song, get a vaccine, drink some coffee, order some coffee from perfectocoffeeinc.com. Make a donation to the meetinghouse.net. Pray for the soul of America. And until next week, this is Dwight Moody in the Meeting House. God bless you all. Thank you.